All right, we're live. Um, Good afternoon. It's our Tuesday talk with Dee, um, and welcome to H&D Abroad. Um, I am Dee. We on this channel on H&D Abroad, we are mid-career professionals that are aspiring expats, and we are sharing our journey and all the things that we're doing to get ready, such as research. We're sharing our scouting trips and learning from our community and people like you about different tips, and we're definitely sharing them along the way. So today we are talking with, man, Exodus Summit has just been that gift that keeps on giving. And so I want to say welcome to Tracie Collins. Tracie's channel is Healthy Black Girl. So we're going to bring her in the room now. All
Hi.
right. So, Tracie, I'll let you introduce yourself, and we'll talk a little bit about our format. We are talking today about indoor plants and travel. And I was telling Tracie before we started that, look, I had no idea how to prepare for plants until she posted in the group about what she was doing in preparation for some short and long term trips. So, um, Tracie, if you want to introduce yourself and just kind of talk a little bit about your plant life.
Hi, everyone. My name is Tracie Collins. Um, I am a plant mama, and it, it happened later in my life. It wasn't something that I did, in my early adulthood, but in my mid adulthood, they're my babies. I have like nearly 50 plants, and it took me less than a year to get all of those. Once you start, you can't stop. And, you know, um, God gifted me with a green thumb later in life. So that's me. That's me. Yeah.
Yeah, you said later in life. I took it for granted, Tracie. My grandmother,
Mhm.
like she could get a piece of like anything and put it in the ground, put it in some water, it would just grow, like just grow. And I remember seeing plants and knowing that she was really good at that, but just never thought, okay, that's going to be part of my life. And I think just over time I was drawn to plants, and the idea that not only plants are more than just aesthetically appealing. I love greenery. I think it just adds a lushness. But especially in 2020 when the world shut down,
Mhm.
I didn't realize how much I needed plants and how much they gave me and how much they required that I slow down. So you've talked a little bit about on your on your pages about your social media pages about like how plant care and how plants surrounding you have been a part of your self-care journey. So did you want to share a little bit about that
Oh
too?
my God. They're a part of my everyday life.
Yes.
So my routine is the moment I come downstairs. So I've woken up, I've washed my face, brushed my teeth. I now do about, 30 minutes of yoga every morning. And then I come downstairs and then I put our coffee on and then I go into our meditation room, which houses about 30 of our plants.
Hmm.
And I go around each and every one, and as the sun is coming up, they're getting the sunlight, and I'm looking at all of the leaves and I'm talking to them. I'm lighting incense and I'm lighting our ancestor altar, and I
Yeah.
just talk to them. I go and I open our blinds in the front of our house, and I have two plants in one of those rooms, and I just talk about how pretty they are, how much they're growing.
Hmm.
I touch them. So it's my everyday routine that I do. I don't even think about. And so there I don't even know how to not say that they're not, like, I know them individually and
Yeah.
I know them as my babies, and I pay attention to the necessary routine and the care and the watering and the fertilizing, and their soil that they individually need. It's not a collective need because there's so many. They're all individualized.
Right, right, right. Used to see my grandmother talking to her plant and, just babying them. And I was just like, you had 10 kids. Like, you just kind of surrounded yourself. But what I recognized is that it's almost like
They do
they
hear
hear
you.
you
They
and
absolutely
they
hear you.
respond to that care.
Mhm,
When I notice, when I notice, checking the soil and I'm like, oh, baby, are you too close to the sun? I notice you're taking in more water. What do you need? And
mhm,
then I listen. Like,
mhm,
what do you need? Those those are life skills as
mhm,
well as care skills because you have to slow down
mhm,
to pay attention. Now, I
mhm.
have not named them.
I
That
used to name them, but then it became too many and I
too
gave up.
many. Yes.
I did.
but but I know this big one I've had about 2 years, and I didn't name it, but my mother-in-law had a pothos, a golden pothos that she had for decades and decades, but I buy them in memory of.
Mm,
So yeah, that I'll share a little bit more about that, but yeah, that communication, that slowing down, that paying attention proved to be very valuable. And it was so funny when I was with our work team and people that were like, I've never grown anything, but
I
everybody
see that.
on TikTok, everybody on social media is talking about growing a garden. And, so they've got tomatoes and kale and different things. And just how people found a level of peace through plant care and beautification of their space. This kind of becomes your coworker when you're working from home, which it looks like both of us do
Mhm.
in working from home. So it's a part
Mm.
of the little community you have there.
And it's also a good form of self care when you talk about naming your plants. When people are struggling with some form of um, depression, or they're struggling with some
Mhm.
form of self-worth, you can name, and I actually recommend this, and I've said it on different social media platforms, but like you can get the easiest plants to take care of, which are snake plants, pothos, monsteras, and ZZ plants, and just get one, and you
Mhm.
can name it after you and talk to it, and it's like you're speaking life into yourself, and
Absolutely.
it helps to transform our way of thinking about us when we start speaking positively into us, so it's a whole routine.
Absolutely. You talked about your ancestral altar, and I think probably without realizing it, that's what I've done. So, my mother-in-law, just because I can't be physically with her, this reminds me of her. I lost my dad. I didn't realize when I was young, the plants we had in our house, I thought my mother bought them, and she says, "Oh no, your dad had that snake plant. He
Mhm.
he brought that snake plant in the house." And so what I did was I bought a rubber plant um,
Yeah.
in memory of him, and and did not realize the reason why was he grew up with asthma. My sister and I had asthma, and I was just like, things are happening around you, and you don't realize the influence of
Mhm.
them. But it was really nice to when we bought our house, and we poured water, libations, and said the name of our ancestors when we were moving in. And that was the plant that I bought in memory of my dad as we moved into our house. But bringing those things near just brings those memories, brings
Mm-hmm.
just brings so much. It brings a deeper connection to more than just a plant, but the plant represents something in my life. It represents my growth. I can
Mm-hmm.
see time pass because, I was like, man, these. I didn't know. I didn't remember that pothos grew so fast.
Mm-hmm.
And so as I clipped them, and thinking about who would I gift them to, and what that means to gift a part of this plant that has meaning to you to someone else who has meaning to you. I think it's a beautiful thing.
Mm-hmm.
Travel and plants. We went to Mexico. We were in Mexico probably around the same time. I think you were coming back when we were heading there. Um, and I had this plant, and several others. Um, my orchid survived until I got back. That was weird, but the others, I didn't really have a plan. Like, we have adult children who were college students, and I was like, if you can think about it, please water my plant. That is not a plan. That is not a plan. So I was so glad when you said, hey, I know a few things, I'm willing to share a few things. And I thought maybe what we could do is, just kind of talk about a plant care routine, like when you're at home, and then how does that shift or change when you leave. So I have a few succulents too. Um, I can care for this better than I can succulents, and I'm not exactly sure why.
I'm not good with succulents either.
Okay,
I love them. I think they're
they're
beautiful,
beautiful.
but I'm not that good with succulents either. It's a whole lighting water balance with
Hmm.
them that I haven't fine tuned yet, and so you're not the only one. Yeah,
Okay,
you're
okay.
yeah.
Well, wherever you'd like to start, let's
So
talk about plant care.
yeah, so we can start with the short abroad trips or short trips. Um,
Hmm.
so my children still live at home, so they better watch out for my plants. That's kind of how it's like, hey, how are you? How my baby? How are the plants? Did you water them? Let me see them. Let me see them. I need you to turn it. I need you to. So that's kind of, and I usually designate the oldest daughter to do that, but
Hmm.
the younger one, we had some okra growing outside, and so she knew to like clip the because that's how my plant journey actually started was gardening. So I can
Yes.
actually do inside and outside when it comes to
Hmm.
growing food, and then also house plants. Um, but since we've decided to transition our life, I've kind of released the garden until we resettle to wherever we land.
Right.
But the house plants have remained, and so I designate the oldest to take care of the plants as we're gone. And when we left for Mexico, we were gone for 6 weeks. Um, and so she took care of them. She forgot about one, which was I have a pothos in my office too. And so she forgot about that one. But the beautiful thing about those are the leaves all leaves tell you what they need, but pothos
Hmm.
really shows it. And,
Hmm.
there we do a lot of bottom watering with,
Okay.
especially with that particular plant. And so it was a lot of checking on them, and I watered them and I fertilized them before I left, so I knew. And I fertilize only with fish oil.
Hmm.
I take that back. I fertilize with fish oil, and then sometimes I'll do coffee grinds. Um,
Okay.
And that's it. That is it. And I pay attention to the how they're responding to the sun, and I'll rotate them every so often.
Absolutely.
Every so and I'll change position of the plants in the house, in the depending upon the room that they're in.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, I was watching a few videos just to get ready for this presentation, and they talked about the environment in the house.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's my norm. If we're going to be on a trip for more than like a weekend, I'm going to adjust the temperature because I don't want to be, especially in the summertime,
Mm-hmm.
I don't want it to get, um, I don't want to spend money where I don't have to spend money. And air conditioning, is can be a big pull on the electric bill.
Mm-hmm.
And so what someone was mentioning was don't completely turn off the heat in the winter, don't completely turn off the air in the summer, and that's because your plants are used to a certain environment that you built in your home, and
Right.
so they don't necessarily need the heat like you would need it, but it doesn't need to dip down dramatically, because then they kind of go into a survival
Mm-hmm.
they go into survival mode. So, making sure that the leaves are wiped so that they get in as much, take in as much nutrients as they can,
Mm-hmm.
was another one that is probably just general care that
You
you should
you'll
be
be
doing.
surprised that people don't know the things that we would take for granted as general care. People just they forget about them, or they don't
Mhm.
listen to the leaves. I think everything that I do, I specialize in life. So I'm
Mhm.
always paying attention to oxygen levels. How is your body responding? I pay attention to vital signs in
Right,
everything.
right.
So with that, this is no different. The plants are no different, and the level of hydration, and all of the things that we as human beings need, and it's no different. And the temperature, our house stays usually between 67 to 70.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
the temperature is pretty comfortable in the house, and
Right.
that is the climate that they're used to. But there are some plants who can take a little bit more, like the sansevierias and the ZZ plants, and um, even the pothos can. But there are other plants who will be like, yeah, no, I don't like that.
Right.
My monstera, I have four monsteras, and I have
Oh,
three monstera deliciosos, which are my
yes.
babies. Those are my ooh,
Yes.
those are my babies. But I have a Swiss cheese monstera, and that is the most. I, it's a female. It's a girl. She is so moody. She
Wow.
is so moody, meaning it has to be the right position of the house. She has to have the right water. And when she is not happy, she will drop her leaves. I mean, she
Woo.
is so moody. And
Wow.
so with her, she needs a little bit more TLC
Mhm.
because of
Mhm.
her temperament. So it's like, okay, girl, because her cousins, the deliciosas, they were like, oh yeah, we're good. We don't need much. We good, mom. But this
Wow.
girl, that Swiss cheese is like, mm-mm.
Pampering, pampering,
Woo!
pampering.
And it's
You
like,
gotta know them. You have to
I
know your
want it
plants.
better, because she will drop her, like she will put them on the floor. Like, I am not standing up until you give me what I want.
Wow.
That is her temperament. The most, and she's so cute. She's the most moodiest plant, though.
And that's, as I think through um kind of the priorities,
Hmm.
um it's not one thing over the other. I think what another tip that they talked about was maybe even grouping your plants based on what their needs are when you're away.
Hmm.
So, like you said, if I've got plants that are in an area that if someone's going to care for them, that they that they might miss, bringing them to an area, that's more of a high traffic, that they don't get missed. But
Mhm.
also, um, plants are communicative between each other.
Mhm.
And so, kind of transitioning into, what should you do when you're away for more time? So as the time away lengthens, then more than just a good watering, more than just your basic, your basic care, you're thinking about, okay, so normally I'm not going to go. I might go 2 weeks. That's probably the most amount of time I might go without watering most of my plants. And I don't have any that, except for those succulents that I, I just, they don't survive. And I thought succulents were the ones that you could just like, those aloe veras that my grandmother had didn't seem like they took any care. And
Mhm.
I can't keep them. I can't
I
keep them
can't,
around.
and the ones that I love string of pearls. I love the turtles. I
Oh
love the
yeah.
dolphins. I
Yes.
love the oh crap. And I've had them all. I've had like three string of pearls died. Um, it's just, yeah, I've had them and they just don't. Mm, that's how I feel. And I want them, but they're temperamental.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, and so when you're thinking about, kind of the length of time that you're away, what I was, good and planty is, talked about, leaving house plants alone for more time, more than a week. They were talking about grouping them together because they share humidity, they like being near each other.
Mhm.
Plants that are abandoned can grow but won't grow as much as
Right.
those that are, in regular contact, with humans or near other plants. And so they're communicating whether we're paying attention or not. So the 2 weeks I saw, we watered these plants pretty thoroughly, like in the tub, kind
Mhm.
of making sure that, and I've got regular old Miracle Grow,
Mhm.
indoor plant soil. So it's got some of those little pellets that hold on to the water for them. And so I think they did pretty well because it still followed my normal schedule. How have your plants done within a 2 week time frame? Are there any tips that you have for that kind of that critical? That's probably the most amount of time that even if you were at home, that you would go, without some like regular care, like watering.
I all my plants are grouped together
Hmm.
with the exception of maybe one, two, three, so four.
Okay.
Um, and they do well, like you said, amongst each other.
Hmm.
Um, but as far as like, I would actually, if I were to be gone and if I did not have my adult children
Hmm.
here in my house, I would hire um, a plant sitter. That is what
That.
I would do, because I need somebody who knows what they're looking at, knows what they're looking for,
Hmm.
paying attention to the soil, making sure there's not any kind of, pesticides on them. Like today, I just sprinkled some of the granulars. I don't know if I'm saying that right, but for gnats, because at one point we had a huge
Ah,
gnat problem,
wow.
and I had to, what did I do? Oh, I did a whole detox with all of my plants to get rid of them. Like
Hmm.
all 50, I did a full detox with them. And that's how I got rid of the gnats. And I make my own soil. So when I plant, I get like just the regular cheap dirt. And then
Uh-huh.
I get the perlite and I get sometimes I'll put, is it vermiculite? I haven't, because they've been kind of settled for a while, but I
Mhm.
get my own like peat moss and all of those
Oh,
things,
nice.
and I mix it all together, and I'll put the stuff in there for gnats as well, and it kills
Mm.
them so they can't reproduce. And it takes like 2 weeks, but they can't reproduce. Once they ingest it, then and they die. That's it. They're not laying any larvae.
In a larva. Mhm.
So those
That's
are the things that I do for them. If I was going to be gone, I would definitely hire a plant sitter, somebody
that
to come
you
in
you
every
you
so
brought
often.
up you brought up a really good, something else that I learned, watching Becca, de la Plants.
Hmm.
She has a channel, and she mentioned before leaving, checking like the bottom of
Yeah,
your leaves.
you should check them
A
anyway.
Anyway, right, but
Mhm.
especially when you're gonna be away, you don't want something that is going to grow rampant because now they're unchecked,
Mhm.
and they will, you're gonna have a bigger problem when you come back. Or if they're together, that it spreads from plant to
Right.
plant. So you brought up a really good point um, about infestations, or bugs that we need to check the plant regularly, just as a part of regular care, but especially when we're leaving. Because as I looked at some of the advice, people talked about, creating these humidity
I,
areas,
I
especially, as we transition into greater, greater than 2 weeks, leaving the plants in a small amount of water. So when you think about mosquitoes or gnats, because you and I live in the South,
mm,
we're in the U.S. South, and
mhm,
mosquitoes are never our friends. And so the thought of leaving a little bit of water, and I
mhm,
haven't checked my plants, like I'm just waiting on a whole problem. And we've had fruit flies in a
mhm,
previous home, and I was just like, I cannot get rid of these things. I don't
mhm.
want my loving, lovely plants to create a disaster. So, I know that that's definitely an area that
You
we're
know what
going
I
to be
do, and I
thinking.
got this tip from Plantarina, and I love her channel. I love Plantarina,
Okay.
and um, she said she barely waters them, and when she does, she makes sure that she would rather you, of course, underwater versus overwater, and you just kind of let it dry out and then you water it. And
Hmm.
that over the course of time has worked, especially when making sure not to have any watering just settle. And then another tip that I got from her was, when you buy a plant from the store, you have to leave it out in your garage, or leave it in a separate
Yes.
area before you bring it into the house. You're supposed to check the soil anyway before you buy it, but then you still never know. So you bring it and you just kind of slowly integrate it into your home, but keeping it in the pot that it came in, and
Mhm.
not uprooting those roots and creating any kind of root shock. So putting it in a nice decorative pot that you want for your home when you finally bring it into your home, but it's still in the same store pot.
Mhm.
And um, so that a lot of my plants are still in store pot. Now that I think about, now that I think
And I
about it,
was in a rush to try to get them out initially, because I was
yeah.
just like, I figured that I wasn't too choosy about where I found my plants. Now that I'm kind of moving into the plant mama, the plant parent, arena, I would prefer to get them from nurseries, but I've bought them from Walmart. I've bought them, from different places. But
But
you're right.
nurseries can
You
be
are
very
bringing a new
expensive too.
species you
Mm,
know, into your um into your plant kingdom,
mhm.
if you want to say it that way, and you want to introduce it thoughtfully,
Right.
because yeah, any yeah.
Yeah,
So
I love nurseries. I love going to nurseries, and plant, but the nurseries can be on the pricier side.
Right.
I found the same level of quality of plants from even Home Depot. Like my bird of paradise has come from Home Depot. I've got several pothos
Mm.
that have come from there. I've got
Mhm.
snake plants that have come from there. I've gotten other. I mean, I've bought stuff off of Etsy. Like my philodendron gigantea, that I thought was only three little leaves, or that I bought from Etsy. And the thing is so big now, it has to
Oh,
be
yeah.
repotted. So I had a beautiful, what do you call it, string of pearls from Etsy. It died because it's a succulent, but it was beautiful.
Right.
Just
Right.
slowly, you do have to slowly transition them into your house. But I want to mention the infestation. So what I do to detox my plants, if there's something going on, or if I need to bring a plant
Mm.
that back to life, I uprooted. I take the dirt off. I make sure I'm in a clean space, and remove the dirt from it. And as long as those roots are white, then from there I'll sit it in a bowl with, or a bucket, depending upon how big the plant is, with a little bit of peroxide, hydrogen peroxide in it, and I let it sit for
Bacteria.
about 15
Mhm.
minutes. And once that 15 minutes is up, I then, kind of rinse it off gently, and then I repot it in fresh soil. And every single plant has thrived since
Wow.
treating it like that. Yeah.
Which is a good segue before we move any deeper into, our plant tips is when if you're doing all the things that we're talking about and preparing your plant, good care when you're at home, taking the care that you can when you're away. When you come back, what are you looking for and what do you do? And I know that that really is based on your plants, but that you can see signs of
Mhm.
dehydration or thirst. What is your strategy? Are you cleaning leaves and spraying them, just slowly bringing them back? What's your strategy if you've been gone for 2 weeks or less, kind of welcoming them back to regular care?
I look, well, I do this every day anyway, but I'm looking for yellow leaves.
Mhm.
That is, like, I'm looking for any dead leaves that need to be removed. I'm looking for yellowing leaves that are ready to come off, because yellowing leaves, they'll start at the leaf and then they'll move into the stem.
Mhm.
So I'll remove them. I also kind of shake my leaves at the root to see if
Mm.
there's any root rot happening,
Mhm.
um, and removing that. Today I cut three leaves off of my biggest monstera, and I just said, I just need you to put energy in the ones that are growing well. We'll grow the others
Yes.
back. So
Yes.
I'll do that.
Mhm.
And of course, water is
Mhm.
a given. Yeah.
'Cause, I initially would have thought, you've gotta water them and fertilize them, and I'm like, that might be a shock to your
Hmm.
plant,
Hmm. And the
starting
soil
with
may not even
hydrating
need
them
it.
first.
Yeah, the soil may not even need it. The kind of plant it is, like my snake plants, I'll go, I water them probably every 5 weeks.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, oh, because they don't need a lot of water at all.
Mhm.
My
Mhm.
snake plants get the least amount of water. And I think I have eight. I have a snake plant corner in one part of the house, and
Mhm.
there's eight of them. I think there's eight. I think I have 10 total, and there's eight in this particular corner. And they love each other. Those are my guys. I call them. That's my men over there. They just all masculine and standing up straight and tall. But I water them every 5 weeks. So, but I'm looking, and they still get the level of daily care, but those are the immediate things that I'm looking for when coming back.
Mhm. Mhm.
Especially snake plants, because if you shake them at the root, they'll
Yes.
pop off if they're not,
I've
if they're
never thought about I never thought about that. I was just like, I'm gonna wipe I'm gonna wipe the leaves. I'm
Mm,
gonna, just check with my finger in the
mhm,
dirt. If I
mhm,
can go down pretty much
mhm,
down my index finger
mhm,
and it's dry, then I'm like, okay, it's time to give them some water. And then other than that, if any dirt comes back on my finger, they're fine. I mean, they're
mhm,
just that
mhm,
those are the kind of plants that love me. Those are the ones that I feel like, if I and I was pretty, like I said, I was pretty new to indoor plants again. And so, those kinds of indications where I don't have to be like super detective. Like one of my doula clients gave me the orchid, and
mhm,
I was like, man, this is just, this is easy breezy. I come back and it's doing well. And then I interrupted what I had been doing
mm,
to care for them. And they were like, ah, and like everything just, the flowers started coming off. And it was just like, there was nothing I could do to save it. So,
mhm,
trying to help them to stay, in that same rhythm. Some plants are more sensitive um,
mhm.
to that
Right.
than others.
Yeah.
And then learning from other plant mamas, like I'm not
Yeah.
afraid to. And you were saying her channel was
Plantarina. Yeah.
Plantarina. I
I
just found her as well.
I love her. I mean, she has a whole lot of personality, and she has a huge following too. But
Mhm.
yeah, I love her tips. She has great tips. She does great with, I mean, just all kind of stuff. Yeah.
So, 2 weeks to a month, and I think you're at, what basic care that you could do, and just, that you could do before you leave to
Mhm.
leave them is one thing. I think as I kind of did a little bit more research into what could I do to keep them alive. Let's see. So there is the hydro spikes, and the that help to wick the water
Mhm.
in, was one strategy some folk talked about for, keeping the plant, with kind of continuous water as it'll draw the water that it needs. And then those watering globes.
Mhm.
Have you used those? I mean, they
My
look really
mom has
cool, and they're
yeah, they're
plastic or
pretty.
glass.
My mom has glass. I've always grown up with plants with her. Um,
Okay.
I don't ever want to, like, not mention her and the history. And she has the glass ones, and
Mhm.
they're beautiful. I don't have any, but I would get them just because they're just because they're pretty.
Absolutely. I mean, just the blues and the purples. I mean, you can get them.
Yeah.
It's swirly, and they're
Hmm.
so beautiful. And just from what was shared, that could also be kind of, because it's only going to draw the water that the plant needs over time. So I had not used, but I thought that the hydro sticks were pretty cool. And you could, people were using like a vase of water, and you put it's got like a terracotta or a clay bottom that you stick into the soil, and it just wicks that
Hmm.
water in. You're just placing it, so that gravity helps to move the water between the plant and the water source. So a humidifier is something I was just like, okay, y'all are going deep.
I actually have I have two in there. One is smaller than the other one. The other one's a little bit bigger.
Mhm.
And my oh crap, I can't think of the name of it right now. Rattlesnake
Yeah.
plant. They love humidifiers.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Love humidifiers. The big humidifier is over there by the rattlesnake, and I'll put it on every once in a while. But my rattlesnake plant is pretty durable, so I don't
Mhm.
maybe I need to probably baby it a little bit more because it's right next to my temperamental girl, and so
Ah,
and it's also right under the rubber plant. Oh, I love oh my god, the rubber plant is beautiful, and you see them all over Mexico too.
I
Um,
didn't realize that.
yeah,
Okay.
you see them all over. Where
I
did I
saw
see?
a rubber plant that was growing like a tree, and I
Yeah,
took a picture of it
yeah,
when we were driving through Roma Norte that you recommended.
yeah. I think that's where I saw it. Them. Yeah, yeah. They're all over. Yeah,
So
Mexico just can grow anything.
when you've got that beautiful warm weather most of the year, you don't have the plummeting temperatures like we do here in
Right,
the South, where
right.
nighttime temperatures now are in the 20s or lower.
Yeah,
Yeah, so I know we were focused on indoor plants, but yeah, the how the weather impacts, even because that means there's more heat in our homes. So yeah, when you've got that good, consistent
can
temperature,
I
you could
tell
probably
you,
grow a whole lot more.
they grow, and if you were in Mexico City, you know this. They grow rosemary and um, lavender out of the ground
Yes,
on the
ma'am.
sidewalk.
Yes, ma'am.
Like, and I would, I tell you, and I smell it. I said, when I first saw it, I was like, is this what this cannot? And it was cold to me because we had just come from Playa. So I was like, is this? And child, it was rosemary and lavender on the sidewalk,
That's
just
right.
abundant, abundant. I said, you know what? And I don't think you can cut them, but I was like, I'll just take a
Let
little
me get a
sip
little cutting of this.
and bring it out.
The plant mom in me was like, hold back, girl, hold back. But yes, I mean,
Yeah,
just because you're making it a part of the landscape. It's not like something that's just,
I know.
it's
I love
over doctor. I mean, sometimes you know, you're growing things that are hardy and that
that. Mhm.
have a practical use. And you're right. Just walking down, what is that thoroughfare in the middle?
I love
Um,
it. It's called oh my God. I
everywhere.
want to
It's
say
good everywhere.
Alvarado. Oh child, don't butcher us, Rashida. Don't do that. Don't even say nothing if you see this. But yes, that thoroughfare and where you can just sit down and
Oh,
oh, and you know what else? The Monstera is there, but also the oh, I can't where my brain is, but there's a Dieffenbachia. They grow
wow, that's
abundantly.
right.
And
That's
I can't. I've killed two Dieffenbachias, and I just want to grow a Dieffenbachia, and also in Costa Rica, Dieffenbach. And I just want one in my house because I grew up with
right.
huge Dieffenbachias, but for
My grandmother would grow them, and I was just like in awe.
I
Not
couldn't.
gonna even try it.
I'm just like, you know what? And I bought one in honor of my, and I named it after my grandmother. She was like, not in your house.
Not even. I was
Not,
like, I'm gonna try my hand when I've got a few more elements that line up with either temperamental plants or an environment that is an equalizer, that's a little bit more forgiving. I guess I can say it that way. That's a
yeah.
little bit more forgiving. And so yes.
I told honey, I was
Mexico has completely spoiled me. Mexico City specifically, but just that greenery, the lushness. I did
you
not
wouldn't even
expect that
think.
in such a
You would not
hugely populated area.
you would not even think, but that's absolutely one of the reasons why I love Mexico in general. Um, is that they incorporate the nature in the
Mhm.
architecture. That is a part of the architecture versus here, they're just going to cut stuff down just because they want to put more houses up. I mean, they do that everywhere, but it's a part of the architecture. I've seen houses built around trees. The tree is in the house. Like,
Let me tell you, walking those sidewalks in Mexico City, they're not cutting that tree down.
so
They
they
will put that sidewalk all the way into the middle of the street, but they will protect.
They
And
protect that.
to see that level of value for a
Mhm.
living thing,
Mhm.
to for for plant life is definitely was definitely refreshing for me, and just won me over in a way I wasn't expecting. Um, the I know we are we're both in the transition. You are closer than I am.
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know because like I was supposed to be in, and where was I supposed to be today? In Puerto Rico, and literally at the last minute, I was like, I don't want to go.
Oh
I was supposed to go to a conference, and it was like, I don't want to go. I said, it's not Mexico. I don't want to go.
no.
I
Hey,
don't
I'm
want to go.
starting to
And
feel the pull,
mhm,
balancing, there are things I have to do while I'm here,
mhm,
and that are going to help make our move abroad more sustainable. We
mhm.
could up and leave, but there are going to be it's literally like uprooting a plant. There's
Yeah,
shock
yeah,
there, and so we're not, the survival of our plan will be in jeopardy. So
right,
just as we talk about
right.
intention with the things that are living around us,
Mhm,
I want this process that's going to sustain our living over time to be intentional. But
mhm,
let me tell you about letting go of
mhm,
these plant babies
mhm,
was just heart-wrenching.
mhm,
So we go to Mexico for our visa process, the second part, the Canje,
mhm, mhm,
part of our visa process. And there are things that but like in your practice, like I didn't fold it in.
mhm,
So I'm plant-based.
mhm,
I know the danger of taking my plant pieces, my introducing something that is not native to a
mhm,
new environment.
mhm.
I knew that,
Cognitively,
but baby,
emotionally, you hadn't caught up.
I'm gonna take my apples,
Mhm,
because that's how mama's digestion
mhm,
stays digestible when
mhm,
she's traveling, is I hydrate, and I eat green apples. I eat at least two a day. And it's just, so when I normally travel, I go deep. I'm gonna wash my apples. They're gonna be ready to eat. So I
mhm.
had only eaten two and I had six. So we get off the plane and go through customs.
And you get to the nice people. He said, "Do you have fruit?" Like you can't bring that.
Right? I mean, you know it.
Yeah.
But like your body is like, but you need this. And it did not.
Mhm,
And I was just like, do I have, he took my apples and I said, will we be fined? And he said, no, I'm not going to fine you, but I am going to write you a citation.
mhm,
I was like, these are living things that have a real consequence when we transport them across the
mhm.
border.
Right.
And that means that when we leave, we have to have a plan for my plants. I'm not going to sit them outside and kill them. I mean, they are like living, breathing family members. Like,
Mhm.
I have to have a thoughtful consideration of what am I going to do with my plan. So, we talk a lot on this channel about our move abroad game plan, but that now includes my plant
Yeah,
baby. So,
my plans was the first thing on my list. I was
really,
child. I don't give a. I don't know. I'm gonna keep it cute, but I don't give crap about nothing. But these, right?
I'm willing to sell everything, but like my plants and my books, like I'm having
Well,
some
I'm keeping my.
real conversations with myself about like,
Mhm. I have a wall of herbs. Now that one is hard, really hard for me. I have a wall in mason jars that I built specific, and it's from top to bottom. It is from the ceiling to the floor, like a bookcase and they're alphabetized and everything. I do everything. I specialize. Like me
Yeah.
outside of like what I do outside, and so that part is really hard because even still, I'm trying to think, and I have a briefcase full of plant seeds. I'm sorry, not plant seeds. Gardening seeds, like
Hmm.
for vegetables and fruits and stuff. Well, those kind of plants. And I'm still trying to figure out. I know you can get a certificate. It has to go through the Department of Agriculture, but I think
Correct.
individually they have to go get their own certificate. So it's a tedious process. But
Mhm.
for my plants, the green babies, I'm shopping out plant parents, and I already have one person, actually two, but one in particular. I took a picture because he's a plant daddy, like he's for real. So he said, Tracy, don't even worry. He says, I
Oh,
got
that's
you.
so good.
He said he's already picked out five of them that he wants,
Yeah.
and then I'll put them in Facebook groups when I'm ready, but when we're ready, really ready. But they have to go to great homes. And I told my honey, I was like, when we go, I said, I don't care if we have furniture or not. I need a monstera in my house.
Yes.
That's like day two. We land day one, day two. She just looked at me like, but she
Oh,
understands.
yes.
Like these
Oh,
are my
yes.
friends. These are my babies. So I need these are important. Yeah.
You mentioned having confidence in somebody to, I didn't leave my kids with just anybody.
Mm-hmm.
When our babies were small, I mean, I had a checklist for my mom, and I know that sounds, but
It's still your baby.
I was like, I know you had children, you raised me, but you don't know these babies, they my babies. And I
Mm-hmm.
feel the same way about my plants. What are some things, if people are thinking about, who would make a good plant parent to adopt my
Mm-hmm.
babies? What are some things that what would be on your short list?
Or do they have any plans? First of all, so you don't have no plans. Okay. Well, we're gonna start you out with something like this, so that way I
Yeah.
know you can take care of it. That would be like, what kind of plant parent are you?
Hmm.
That's a crime. And then what kind of environment? How long would the travel need to be just to, because you have to come pick it up because I'm
Hmm.
not bringing it. So, but and then yeah, the travel piece is another important element. But so so far, but I'm shopping for because I've listed and people be like, Tracy, we want it. So I'm like, okay, when I'm ready, I'll let you guys know.
Yeah. Yeah. I just, when what I have been thinking about doing is when we're talking about having kind of a gathering to celebrate our move, and that would take place a few weeks before. um Maybe we might even back it up a little bit more than that, so that people can get the plants that we either know we want to give to specific people, and then to ask people if they want to care for
Hmm.
this beautiful plant that I have nurtured, that we have nurtured as a family. But um, and then, like you said, I've seen a lot of people listing,
Hmm.
selling, or just listing as a share in Facebook Marketplace or Craigslist, their plants. And
Hmm.
so, you don't have to feel like you don't have somewhere for your plants to go. There are people, schools. This is a great project for classrooms if they will allow plants in the classroom.
Oh, my
I
kids.
know science teachers probably
You
would love to have.
you better than me because I don't want no little people breathing on.
No little people. My mother-in-law she was an elementary school teacher who bought plants. She bought a rabbit for her kids to care for. So, it kind of teaches
Mhm.
some level of care. Not that
Because
the kids would have complete access, but it's a part of the learning and development. But as people are thinking about even in nursing homes and things like that, as
mhm,
long as it is a kind of a self-sustaining, low maintenance
mhm,
kind of thing, depending on the requirements, it could be literally something beautiful, something to beautify someone else's life,
mhm.
and something to care for that gives them care back.
Right.
So those are some of the creative ways where I'm thinking about saying goodbye to our plant babies.
But my big one, I know I could call him and be like, Mike, how's my baby doing? Send me a picture. Like that's, I mean, I know we're not supposed to have favorites, but that one right there. So I need updates.
Yes, yes, yes,
I need updates. Yeah. And then like
absolutely.
also there's like specific dedicated Facebook groups to plants. So that is where I'm gonna start. There's like black plant mamas
I didn't
um
realize that.
on Facebook, and like even in your geographic region, like the Facebook plant groups there.
Mhm,
So that way your plants are going to plant people, because not everybody is a
mhm,
plant person. So people who pay attention or who are in those groups, they know, and
mhm.
they want, and they do swaps, they'll do sales, they'll do moving sales, they'll do all kinds of things.
Yep. So considering our plants as a part of our self-care.
Mm,
But when we're talking move abroad, like you got to have a plan.
mm,
I don't I know that I cannot go through the requirements. I've watched people with pets, and I know you have a pet.
mhm.
What are you going to do with your pet? Are you taking your pet
Oh my,
abroad, and
yeah,
all of the checklist of things?
yeah, my animals are coming with me. So we have a dog, and he's 10 pounds. So a Pomeranian, and my turtle. Yeah, absolutely. Coming.
And so that those kinds of things have a process of
Hmm.
what you have to do on the US side with a veterinarian and documents that have to travel with them. I mean, like, it takes a lot. I know people who have shipped their plants and have, done that. It's not a part of my plan. I'm going to work on emotionally letting go and finding good homes
But
for
if
our
you
baby.
go to a place such as Mexico, or such as like, anywhere in the tropics, Costa Rica is another great one. Uh,
Hmm.
you can get more. I couldn't go anywhere where I couldn't get any plants. Like that's a non-negotiable for me. I can't go anywhere where it's not centered around nature,
Hmm.
and I can't get any plants. So the climate is essential for me.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And we're looking in the same places. Ecuador is up next on our list. Costa Rica and Panama are probably a close second. So we're going to be doing some more visits and figuring out where else we want to get visas. But you're right. Plants are a permanent part of my life
Hmm.
now and moving forward. And yeah, I don't want to choose anywhere that where I can't grow that part of my life in my new place.
Right.
So, well, y'all, Tracie has done it. She has like given us the real tea on like taking care of your plants, learning from your plants, being nurtured, buy your plants, nurture, being able to nurture something and really see what nurturing can bring forward. Um, and the power of community, not just,
Right.
not just plant to plant, but person to person. Like, I'm so thankful to have met Tracie in the Exodus Summit Facebook group.
I know.
It is all about Black women supporting, taking a sabbatical and, considering what moving abroad could bring to their lives. And seeing you and then fangirling you, and then coming back to say, "Hey, girl, could you come on and talk about your plant journey with me?" I want to say
Oh,
thank you.
thank you so much for having me. I mean, it's rare, as you probably know, that I get to talk about the other stuff I love. So I really appreciate being asked and being here. And there's such an everyday part of my life, more than I actually let on. Um,
Mm.
so I just appreciate being able to take this time and talk about them.
Absolutely. Well, I'm going to ask when it's time to talk about the other stuff. We've
Yeah,
got a lot of room
I know,
because
right?
that's going to be a part of my life abroad as well. So, you know, um, we are this week. I post about my self-care journey on Tuesdays.
Hmm.
On Saturdays, we go live. This week, we're going to talk about, the internet and getting advice from the internet, and don't believe everything you read.
Yeah. Oh, we always
So,
have to do our own due diligence.
absolutely. So
Hmm.
thank you, Tracie, for joining us live today. Thank
Yeah.
you, everybody that dropped in. If you are joining us in the future, um, like this video, hit the subscribe button, and ring that notification bell, because we go live twice a month with a friend that is also on their move abroad journey. Um, and we look forward to seeing you on our next live on Saturday. Have a good one. Bye.
Bye.